back, everyone, to our Groundskeeper chat series. I am your host, Meg Kruger. We are coming live to you from Fort Worth, Texas. This is our second episode of our live Groundskeeper chat series, and this is the first time we've done the show on like prep day.
Yeah.
We've always done it when the halls are filled with folks that are excited to check every vendor out, but today you are going to hear the hustle and bustle of what it takes to put on a trade show.
We still have swarms of people, even though it's set
that
day.
Is
so it's,
true.
It's very
We're
nice
that
to have.
magnanimous that people just like, they were somewhere in the conference hall and they're like, I feel like I'm being pulled to the Groundskeeper
even though
chat
they can't
booth.
hear anything we're talking about because
Exactly.
the speaker's not
The
on
speakers
yet,
are not
but it's okay.
hooked up yet. But our next Groundskeeper chat is what Tyler and I fondly refer to as our yearly therapy session. And what many of you have probably experienced, whether you've gone to their chats over the years or you've tuned in for one of these episodes, we are joined by the Goatleys, Mrs. Lisa Goatley and Mr. Mike Goatley. So welcome, folks. We are so glad that you joined us.
Thanks
again.
for having us.
We
Thank
didn't scare you away last time.
I know, right? We're back.
In the last folks I need to introduce is Tyler. Even though him and I just recorded an hour long with his counterpart Alex, now he's also joining me for the Goatley chat.
I think it's so much. I think it's a good way for us to transition the start of this year because, like you said, you have three. You could say power couples.
Yes,
right?
3 power couples are
In a
how I'm
row?
starting
okay.
the chat.
3
so,
hokey power couples, I should say.
Oh, really? Is Nick McKenna a hokey? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I started with Tyler and Alex, now the Goatleys, and then the McKennas are going to be joining me next. So I needed to pump some of that power couple energy into the chats before I take on my conquest
See, the
of
people
tomorrow.
Are swarming on
I'm
set
telling
day.
you.
It's great.
I'm telling you, this is the vibe, apparently. So did you guys do your session today, or is it tomorrow?
It was today.
It was today.
So, yeah,
How did it go?
11 o'clock. We think it went really well. We change it up every year a little bit. We have some repeat customers, when
we have the regular groupies that show up anytime.
I love it. Give a shout out to some of those groupies.
Well, these folks, and we were talking today, we recognize faces of many of these people. And I told Lisa, I said, do you know that person's name? Is like, I don't, but I know him every time.
I know that he comes and
and they come to all of them. And the best part is somebody always says,
Alex, you're a gem. Look at you.
That is awesome. Thank you. Somebody tells us, I heard something today for the first time, or I paid attention.
Wow.
So that makes you feel good. So we thought it went pretty good today, and we're usually our biggest critics.
I love it.
It's true.
In this year's topic, it always surrounds work-life balance in some sense because that's such a behemoth of a topic for a groundskeeper. But I know that that's what it was titled this year. You went straight to the point.
We really did.
You said this is what we are going to be talking about.
Exactly. Well, one of the things I said is there's always space. When we talk about work-life balance, we don't really have to talk about people going to work.
Yeah.
Work always finds its way in, right? Like it always demands, it's always there, you're always responding to it. And so, our focus really this year was to say, like, okay, we recognize work exists, and that's always going to call for your time. When there's an emergency at work or when, something needs to get done or you have something happening, you're going to be there. You're going to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And what we really have to learn to do is be mindful about creating boundaries to create space for other things.
Yeah.
Because that's what we lose track of. Because work will always make itself present. Yeah. It'll always find its way in.
Yeah. And some of us junkies will... It's almost like a safe haven for some people.
It's true, and it's also like many of us have found work that is passionate to us.
Yes.
Right? Like we enjoy it. It's fulfilling. It's meaningful. We have relationships there. And so it can be really hard to, let that go or set that aside or, have those boundaries because we're committed to our work.
Yeah.
We all have
what's the worst that I'm doing good? Like I'm doing something intentional that I'm passionate about.
But it's
tough.
But
But the butt is there.
Because
the butt is there.
What I've learned through this year's year of psychology appointments is like that work and that perfectionism is actually a detriment, not a detriment, but it comes from earlier years in life. And so you have this change of where you're like, okay, I always thought that I was just, and loved my job and loved working, but like it's also hard because like you realize that became a safe haven for you, and you have to now kind of recalc almost a little bit of like, let's not let work be the safe haven. Let's let something else.
It can be
that safe
uncomfortable.
haven.
Well, one of the things we talked about today when we were doing work-life balance, it was like you have to balance your work life and your personal life. In order to do that, you have to have a personal life.
Yeah, yeah.
And that, I think you're right, Tyler, that when that becomes your safe haven, it's the place where you feel competent. It's where you feel important. It's where you find meaning. Many of us grew up with messages around what we do, like, what did you get accomplished today?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
What did you get done today, right? And your value and worth as a human was tied to that, like what you do.
Yeah.
What's the first thing people ask you when they meet you?
Yeah, what do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah.
Right.
And we all answer with we all answer with our profession.
That is
Right?
That
That's
is
so
why that really just dawned on me for the first time. Like,
So what would be the not correct answer, but like what answer would be better then? Like if somebody says, "What do you do?" Is it more of a you should talk about the personal things?
Depends, right? Like
Yeah,
it depends.
that's really hard.
It's really hard because, when there was a brief period of time when we first moved to Blacksburg and we were getting the family resettled, I had closed a private practice and hadn't gone back to work. And so my goal was to get the family resettled. Mike was reestablishing his career at Virginia Tech. We had children transitioning into school, had to get the house unpacked and all that. So I took a hiatus from work. And so I was meeting people for the first time in our new community, and people would ask me, "What do you do?"
Yeah.
And when I answered with, well, right now I am I'm focusing on my role as a wife and a mother and getting our family. People's eyes would gloss over, and I could see them trying to get out of this conversation in any way possible.
Yeah,
because I was
yeah.
no longer an interesting person to them.
yeah, yeah. That's really tough because I was actually thinking about this today in the women's luncheon, in some sense where it was like, I can remember I felt such a disconnect when I became a mom, when it was like, all I want to do is flood these people with photos of my children. Like, I have no care for what else we're talking about right now. Like, but you're right. Like, that is sometimes the number one thing that, like, and it is weird that that's not how I would ever introduce myself. It still would be like, oh, I always say like, oh, I write for a sports company. Like, but there's so much more to that. But I guess that's important too. I'm glad that I'm not just writing for a sports company.
Right,
Yeah.
that there are other things in your life,
that's
right?
true.
Yeah.
Because there are other things that are meaningful and have value.
Yeah.
And I think we're having a changing culture around that about what we value.
Right.
More than like work or money or possessions or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. It's about one of the things we talked about today was having interests and hobbies and relationships
Mm-hmm.
and meaningful activities, the things that make us interesting as humans,
Yeah.
right? Not just people who are working and have jobs and contributing to society in that way,
Yeah.
right? But what makes us interesting
Right.
humans?
Yeah.
She made a point today during the presentation. You kind of gauge the audience. Are they paying attention, or you hear a little murmuring or
Yeah.
head nodding? And you made a point today that I thought got some of the most response was when you said, don't stay at work to avoid going home.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people that kind of looked around and it's like, she's right.
Yeah.
You don't
Because
want
if
to.
there's nothing at home, right? Like, I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
If there's nothing at home, and it might be that your marital relationship isn't in the place that you want it to be and it's
Right.
stressful, or maybe you've lost your marital. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many people tell us at the end of this seminar, they'll come up and say, when we talk about like people, there's a spike in the divorce rate after about 7 years of marriage. There's a new trend where there's a spike in the divorce rate at 20 or 25 years of marriage.
Yeah.
Right? When kids are leaving
Leave
home
they leave
and
the
people
house,
look
yeah.
at each other and they don't know each other and they don't even have a relationship. They've
Right.
stayed together for the kids, and now
Yeah.
that reason is no longer there. And so when there's nothing, people don't want to go home to an empty house or, to a place that holds painful memories. And
Yeah.
so they avoid, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what we do as humans, right? If something's painful, we avoid it. And so people stay at work. And if you don't have any reason to leave work, people don't leave work.
Yeah. And also, I think in a lot of ways, like for a groundskeeper, well, yeah, it might just be easier to be single. Like, then you don't have somebody pointing out like, dude, you're working a ton of hours, or I need help on. But what we just learned from, Alex and Tyler's chat is like lifelines for one another. She's in law school as a side quest, which is a crazy thing. So she's
That's quite the side quest.
has all these other things, and it's like, yeah, these are two people that if you looked at them at face value, you'd be like, oh yeah, they would be fine, thriving individuals on their own. Like, and maybe they've got too much going on to where like a relationship wouldn't make sense right now. But the fact that they've come together and they have that shared ambition and they have somebody at home that does support that. And what I was talking about with them was like, the ability to say, listen, I'm going to drop 7 balls this week because I've got 13 that I'm holding up, and I have somebody at home that's able to pick up the pieces. But how hard that is in marriage sometimes, or partnerships, or even that partnership at work, to have that vulnerability to say like, hey, the way I'm going to maintain balance this week is by telling you that like, I don't have it figured out. I'm at like a 20% here, and the rest of it's taking 80%. So I need you to help me get it back to that balance.
I think what's hard about that is a lot of us also grew up with messages around perfectionism.
Yes, yeah.
And competency.
He's the poster boy for
I kind of saw your eyes when I said that. And so we don't think it has never been okay for us to say, I don't have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Or I do need help.
Right.
Or I'm struggling with this. Like we wear this mask of
you can have it all.
Yeah.
Like that is such a thing for women where it's like, you can have it all. You can be the career woman and the super mom and the PTA mom.
Well, and here's the thing that here's the little tagline. Here's the little piece that is written underneath it. You can have it all, just not all at the same time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like nobody said that. Like sometimes you have to prioritize, and one thing takes more priority. Right.
Seasons of life.
Exactly. Like you said, when you first had children, you were like, that's all I wanted to do was like focus on that and show people pictures of that, because that was one of the things that was right before you.
Yep.
And so important in your life.
Yes. And now they're like gross and germy, and I'm like, yeah, get me to SFMA. Please give me my week away from these children.
But I think it's an important transition too, Meg, that we can talk about with. I can't call you Dr. Goatley. It doesn't seem right. But
Mike will be fine.
Late for dinner? Does that work?
Yeah, that'd be okay too. Never that.
But so one question I'll pose to him is the same question that we talked about.
Look at this, swarming with affection.
Swarming, everybody's here. Who are those people that either of you, try and surround yourself with to get you through life? Because you obviously have each other. But again, you talk about, okay, what happens when you don't have that? What happens when he's gone or you're gone for a job or whatever it is? Like when he's doing an extension, he's gone for days at a time. Or whatever it is, like how do you balance who those
other
people
communities
are?
or collections of tools?
I like collection. We're sticking with collection.
We're struggling with the term for these communities that we create.
Your tribe. Maybe
yes,
it's your
tribe.
Right.
Right.
Like
there
your
she
tribe.
goes.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep, there she goes.
It's your tribe.
So, and we are not as tribal as probably a lot of people think. In a university, at least my impression, and she at least will give her, in a university community, as far as I have been, our university colleagues are our friends, that's very different from me growing up in small town Kentucky, which we now run back and visit people that Lisa.
You have childhood friends.
I have childhood friends.
He literally has friends from like first grade.
Yes, and we text 2 or 3 of them every day. Every day, 4 or 5 times a day.
The Snapchat
Not
streak
Snapchat,
going.
but this is texting now. The kids, it is Snapchat, and that's how we stay in touch with family. But the university has been mostly my turf team colleagues, and Lisa knows all of them and their spouses and kids as well. So that has become also our friend group. I don't know if that's all good or bad, but we don't have, even though we've been in Blacksburg now 21 years, and Lisa considers that home, all of her high school friends were gone. The people you meet at church, that's church friends, but it's not. So it's different, and we still enjoy these people. We socialize with them. We also work with them.
Well, I think that's a credit to the industry, is that the turf industry is good people.
Right.
Like, there's a reason some people leave. Let's say, this is just for, metaphor's sake, leave their accounting job and they go hang out with a different group of folks. Like,
sorry, accountants.
Sorry, accountants. But, whatever analogy we want to make there, but I think there is a reason that grounds people find that it's like, my friends inside of work are often who I want to take along with me outside of work too, because it is just good people.
Yeah. But this group that I still call my childhood friends, I mean, they could care less what I do.
Yes,
they don't understand. They think it's weird. that you made a career.
Well, they all have different professions, right?
Yeah.
Like one is an optometrist.
Yeah, one of them was a prison
One of
guard.
them was a prison guard.
Goodness.
Career prison guard. One of them is he was in like technology, like computer science, and then became a deacon.
Yeah.
Right. You're a professor.
Yeah, so
right?
it's
like they're all different.
But we are still who we were 6 years ago.
For better or for worse,
okay?
when they get together. Yeah.
I was going to say,
for
are you
better or
okay
for
with that
worse,
though? Because
when they
I
get
can only
together.
imagine.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but Mike is also really good at maintaining relationships. He's really good at
Yeah.
relationships.
That's an important quality to have. That I think that it is a testament to the type of individual someone is when you are able to say, like, I've known that guy, like, since the first grade. That's crazy. There's not many people that are able to bring people along through all the different seasons of life, or because they often say this with marriage, like when people get married so young, there's sometimes a higher divorce rate with them because you completely
change
change
so much.
throughout marriage. And
Yeah.
so there's definitely individuals who are able to maintain that relationship even though it changes so
Well,
frequently.
that's the one thing that I took from, I was one of the fortunate few that got to have Dr. Goatley as a professor. He's widely known as a great extension agent, but he's an even better professor, even though he won't admit it. He won't ever admit it. Shaking his head no. But that's one thing that I took is that relationship building is the most important thing you can do, especially
Yeah.
in this industry. And that comes from all of his years in it as well, of just being able to take people, build a relationship, and then keep it. One of the main stories he always tells is some of the people that he had as mentors and he had as resources through his career always sent thank you letters, handwritten thank you letters.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that's always stuck with me. I wish I had more time to do it. I don't, but it's one thing that I want to do more of as I continue to progress, is because those are things that people will remember. It's about
Yes,
being
yeah.
that memorable person.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important because that keeps your collection of people, your tribe, your,
Yeah.
what did you say?
I said community toolkit.
Community. There we go.
Yes.
I was
We've
looking
got
for
all
that
the
third
different-
C.
Yes, yes.
But that community of people, I think that that's something that I took from that years ago that, I think it's just so important that we keep, because that builds that work-life balance.
And
even
that wasn't
further.
anything that I dreamed up because it's so common sense.
Right.
But I was touched by someone else who sent me a thank you letter for just what I thought was doing my job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that really made an impression on me. And I'll challenge you, you do have time. You just need to have the cards.
I love
and
it.
you don't need to write a book. You just need to say, I just wanted to say thank you for what you did and
Yep.
get it in the mail. And I keep telling young people again, the Dead Sea was.
He's that
Dead
old
Sea-
guy. Like, get off my lawn.
The Dead Sea was only sick
yeah.
when I was young.
Alex, make sure we add 925 Price Road to the Christmas card list.
There you go. Want to see this?
We missed one. That's not their address. Don't send anything there, please. That was made up campus address.
You
just
can
now.
do it, but it doesn't have to be a book. And that's what I tell people is you don't have to make this, but in terms of things that impress people and they really appreciate, that's a very easy one. So I like the
love
things
it.
that are easy.
I love it. I love it.
It's a little and I even now we get Christmas cards from companies, right? That'll send it, and it's the ones that are memorable that you remember. It's
Yeah.
the easy ones. 2 years in a row now, I've gotten a picture from the New Jersey Devils ice crew. They send a picture. It says "Happy Holidays" from the New Jersey
The
Devils.
ASU grounds crew sends one out, and it's the cutest thing
but
ever.
it's one thing that again, you remember that, and
Yeah.
I'll always remember Brian and his crew, and when they came in and did stadium series in our building, those are things that you just remember from those people, and they turn into friends.
Yeah.
Whoever thought that we'd be friends with the ice guy for a hockey arena? Not me.
Yeah.
But it's those people are some of our better friends now that we can call on, and they get it because it's a very similar industry, just in a different sport.
That was one of
Definitely.
our things from this afternoon or this morning when we were talking about the work-life, personal life balance. In order to have a balance, you have to have a personal life.
Yes, yeah.
Right? And so one of the strategies was cultivate interests. Be an
Yep.
interesting person, have other things in your life. And the next one was cultivate relationships.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
all about relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's all about relationships.
And I think it's so silly when you come to a 20-something, 30-something, 40-something, and you're like, you need a hobby. Because I can remember my husband, when we first got together, he said, you need to find a hobby that isn't shopping. Like that used to be my own, like that was my personality, was like, I love to go to the shops and that was like the thing I did. Yes, Alex, we see each other. But I honestly took a year to find hobbies. And even though that's so silly, I remember being like, okay, well, I'm going to see if I like puzzling. And then it's like, I do. I love puzzling. Oh my gosh. I could puzzle for days. I could talk about puzzles for days. But then it's like, I was recording with Andrew Northheim of the Columbus Crew. And I was like, what do you do outside of work? He's like, oh, I'm a puzzle guy. And this was several months ago. And I've seen him twice, and we talk about puzzles. Right. And so as simple as I have hobbies, that sounds silly as a grown person to develop new hobbies, but it connects you to different people, and it does just refill your cup.
It makes you a well-rounded person.
Yes.
I spent a year, do you remember I spent an experimental year trying to figure out what my new hobbies were. I took a cake decorating class.
I love it.
I'm a master cake decorator now. People will ask me to make cakes. And
yes,
I'm like, that's too much pressure. I want it to remain my hobby, not a job.
Well, they really don't ask her to make the cake. They ask her to decorate the cake.
Yeah. Right.
Somebody
the cake is okay, but and she does all right.
Yeah.
But,
oh my God. Apparently, honesty
Baking
is
101 with the
Goatleys. I took a cake decorating class. I took a conversational Spanish class.
I love it.
I took guitar lessons.
So cool.
Did the guitar lessons work out?
That didn't work out.
I'm not a musician. I have zero musical talent whatsoever.
I love it.
Yeah, he plays the keyboard, so we would try to play together, and I would go to class and learn how to strum an A. Yes. And then I would come home and I'd go, how do you do an A? I forgot how to do an A. And he's like, you just learned it.
That's
Practice
incredible.
it. I'm like, I don't know. It's
Try
not in my brain.
Try the keyboard. I just press a button.
It's not in my brain anymore.
So knowing when to walk away from hobbies is also
you know
important.
what? That's the thing. Try new things. And just because it's not for you doesn't mean it's a failure. You gained information, right? I found out that's not for me, right? And it's okay, but I tried it. And it made me an interesting person to try something new, to put myself in that space. Just because it's not for you doesn't mean it was a failure.
And it's okay for them to change over time.
Absolutely.
They're bound to, and that's one struggle we have is obviously Legos were a big thing for me growing up, but now I don't feel like I have the attention span to sit there and do it. So now I feel like I have to re-find a hobby just to be able to have that hobby come back again. So it's
try
definitely
puzzles.
I like puzzles. I just need the space.
Yes.
Because I like doing the big ones, so it's hard.
Yes. There's this company called Mud Puppy. That's incredible. Look them up. That's my favorite puzzle company.
Is that not sponsored, right?
Not sponsored.
Plug.
They should sponsor me, honestly. The amount of money I spend on puzzles. Because they have it all the way from 0 to, 1 for kids' ages, all the way up to, the big leagues.
I thought that was in pieces.
Yes, 0 to 1 piece.
Puzzle. I was like, wait
Maybe
a minute.
that's the one you should start with, Tyler.
Yes.
There you go.
Doesn't require much space. I love it. Another thing that Tyler and I were talking about were the trenches, and I guess that puts a negative term to it. But we were kind of talking about who are those people that you want beside you when you're in the trenches of a challenge, and you're looking ultimately to get to the top of the mountain, but right now you're in the ditch digging yourself out. How important is it to obviously community and network is important, but to have those people that, like we were saying, that when you're in the trench you can say the F-bomb and after it that they're still going to love you?
Well, that caught me by surprise because I was looking to you.
Oh, and I'm like, I've been talking too much. Let's open up some space for you.
I know. I've been trying to think of questions for him.
Right?
We need to get him on the mic.
I'm here just to look pretty, so you don't have to worry about me anyway.
Goodness.
When you ask that question, Meg, I think about what my dad calls your gut friends.
Oh, I like this. Yes, this is a different
and
way
he
to
said
phrase
there
it.
would always be that person when you're on the absolute worst it could possibly be. Who would you pick up the phone and call? He goes, you can't talk about your wife. Okay. He goes, that's logically where you're going first. But who would be that friend? And he said, you can name those people, can't you? And I was like, I can.
Yeah.
And he says, how many of those people do you stay in touch with on a regular basis? And I was like, maybe half of them. Mm-hmm. And he said, isn't that something that you've got people that you don't really stay in touch with on a regular basis, yet you know that in a crisis or in a situation that they would be one of the people that you would reach out to.
Yeah.
And I said, I know exactly what you mean. And he said, I know some of the people I think you would do. And we talked talked, and I'm not going to say
love
names
it.
because some of these people would be like, "You think I'm a friend of yours?" But
I love it.
I know that they would. So that's how he refers to it.
I
And
love
so
it.
There's those people in your lives.
The gut friend.
The gut friends.
I love it. That's it's an endearing term. I love it.
I don't know how endearing it is. My dad saying that, but that's how he refers to it.
So what are you guys going to take away from the session today? Is there anything that you guys gained from it, that whether you're building upon the session for the next time or just that personally you'll be able to take away?
There was one that was made. We use there's a little pie chart up there, and the one pie is what I thought is required to be successful.
Yeah.
And the pie says hard work.
Yeah.
The entire pie is filled in. And then below that, there's the pie that, you have to tell me which, it's got hard work still probably makes up maybe...
2/3, not even 2/3.
Yeah,
No.
I don't know what it is, but it's not quite half.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it's like sleep, exercise, nutrition, all this.
Yes.
Relationships,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what struck me about that was, that is the human, but it also struck me while we were talking about, well, that's exactly how we grow grass.
Yeah.
And why would we think an athletic field would be any different? Because athletic fields need rest. Athletic
Yeah.
fields need nutrition, and they require hard work. And I'd never thought of that pie chart from the standpoint of, we're talking about the human element. I'm like, this applies to grass the same way. That was something that was different. I don't think Lisa thought that was,
Well, no, I know what you're talking about because someone brought it up and they were using it as a metaphor, right? And they were saying, like, you would never, to manage a field, you would never push it. Like, there are times when you do push it because you want to get it ready for something, but you would never do that 100% of the time.
Right.
Exactly. So it does need time for rest. I think that was the metaphor that they were using. And maybe that's what struck you as like, hey, using that as a metaphor for us as well. Like, we need different things
I love it.
as well.
Yeah, it's just common sense, but that had never registered with me in terms of it's exactly what we're preaching.
I love it.
So not to push it, but we talk about hobbies, we talk about like career changes, we've talked about that. You, Dr. Goatley, you're obviously closer to the end side of the career.
Near the
no,
end, yes.
no.
The back nine.
I'm not pushing anything. But like, what are those hobbies going to be like for you? Like, what are you going to try and do to take up time as you retire? Because it's obviously going to be a big change, and I think people would be interested in knowing like what that looks like.
I can imagine for a groundskeeper or anybody in this industry, because it is such a passionate thing that has fueled you for so long, I can imagine it's a topic that's scary. Like, who am I going to be after this is done? But also acknowledging that you deserve to be able to not, be there 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I haven't figured it out yet. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. It is somewhat intimidating.
Yeah.
As you all were talking earlier about, I listen to a lot of retirement podcasts.
Like what's behind the headphones?
Yeah, when y'all were
I was
talking
thinking
about
like, oh my God. Podcast after podcast on retirement.
It's like, how do you retire? What do you do? What's going to happen? And I think the main thing, because you're right, Tyler, I want to retire February 1st, 2027.
Look at you. Wow.
No, I backed it up now.
March 1st.
March 1st, 2027. I want to wait till her birthday.
Somewhere around.
Yes. So I've got the date, and I've had to chew on that because I've got to get my mind wrapped around this is going to happen.
Yeah.
But when y'all talking earlier, like, how do you introduce yourself? That was one of the podcasts was, when you retire,
Who are you?
Who are you? How do
Yeah.
you introduce yourself now? Retiree from whatever. And I was like, hadn't thought about that. So a lot of these things in my mind, I'm still working through. I'm going to find something to do.
I don't think you'll be very far. From what I've seen in this industry, they don't stray too far, but at least you get a little bit of your time back.
I think the reason people don't stray too far is because they've loved this field.
Yes, yeah.
Right? Like, it's been fulfilling and meaningful work. You enjoy it. Like, you enjoy what you do.
I do. Yes. If I didn't have all the administrative part, and at some point you just reach, and it's when you hear them say it's a young person's game, it truly is.
Yeah.
And I've told her it's time because I see so much potential for someone with the energy that I had when I was in my 30s, maybe as far as the mid 40s, that I just don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, missing Tyler this morning because I slept until 8:15, and I was like, wow.
What happened?
I'm getting closer to retirement than I thought I was.
I love that. And I love the honesty too, because it is like a very daunting thing for people. And I think at many different stages, like, I can imagine going from one job where it's like I've been here for 10 years and now I know that I need to change and I want to challenge myself, but to start over.
Change
Who
is hard.
am I?
Yeah.
If I'm starting back at square one, like
Also,
that's intimidating.
Change is just difficult for humans because it involves uncertainty.
Yep, yeah.
And human beings tend not to like uncertainty, right? And so that's also makes it hard. Because change involves uncertainty. And so taking that leap out into something unknown, no matter how much we plan and think about it and how many podcasts we watch, there's still going to be a certain level of unknown, which, as I said, the human psyche tends to not like uncertainty,
Right. Yeah.
and which is why we resist change. So many people will stay in really bad situations, but it's known to them, right? Rather than leap out into uncertainty, which makes it hard. And sometimes there are factors that drive us into it. I can't tell you how many times people have ended up with an unwanted change in their life, a layoff, a firing, and they look back and say, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I just didn't know it at the time.
How do you help people through that you work with, but also how do you help family, friends, to get through that transition? What are some of your tips and suggestions?
So some of my tips are to sit with the emotions. We don't like uncomfortable emotions. That's another thing. I spend a lot of time helping people learn how to tolerate difficult emotions. We have to learn to sit with those uncomfortable emotions sometimes and just figure out, what do we do with those while we wait for them to pass? Because they'll settle down. Right. We don't like it. I've been in that space myself before, right?
Yeah.
Where I don't like how I'm feeling. Right? But if we just sit with it for a little bit and give ourselves time to absorb it and then begin to think, we can get our prefrontal cortex back online, right? Rather than the amygdala, the emotional reptilian part of our brain that, freaks out. So some of it is just sit with it for a little bit. I think there's that. And then I think it's also give yourself time to think about, so what does come next, and who am I really? And if I'm at a point of change and it's not, looking at it as an opportunity, right? An opportunity for what? And identify, what that is. The other thing I think that was new to our presentation this year that I thought went really well was talking about the power of choice. And we had one slide that just said the power of choice.
So why don't you share the story, which I'd forgot, of your time in Mississippi in community mental health when you decided that a change was necessary, and you shared that today.
But we're going to flip it back onto you as well.
That's okay.
Okay, so you'd be ready for that. So, when we talk about the power of choice, one of the things that I see in the therapy room all the time is people giving away their power.
Yeah.
We give away our power to other people. We say yes when we want to say no, or we do something because we're afraid someone's going to be upset with us or disappointed with us, or we do something because we think we have to.
Or you react in a way that makes you powerless.
We react instead of choosing to respond, right? And so we give away our power all the time. I saw a woman who was in a toxic work environment, and she said, I'm stuck. And I said, what do you mean you're stuck? And she said, well, I can't quit. And I was like, well, that's a choice. Yes, you could quit. You could quit. And she said, no, I can't quit. And I was like, no, you can.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's holding a gun to your head saying you can't quit.
Yeah.
Right? You could choose to quit. You're choosing not to quit.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, I have to pay my mortgage. Okay, well, that's still a choice.
Yeah.
Right? Or you have to, my kids, I don't want to, move, take another job and move because my kids are in school here and we really well, that is a choice. Right? Rather than giving away your power and saying,
I'm stuck.
I'm just stuck. You have to say, I have the power and I am making choices. I am making active choices. And the story Mike is referring to is in the early part of my career, I was in community mental health in Mississippi, which is a really stressful place to be.
Yeah.
And I was unhappy with how things were going and how some decisions were being made. And it just wasn't a work environment that was consistent with how I wanted to practice therapy for mostly administrative reasons, kind of back to that. Anyway, so I was unhappy, and I spent a lot of time unhappy, coming home, complaining about my job, et cetera, et cetera. So finally one day I said, you know what? I could look for something else. So I decided to update my resume. I was like, I have choices here. I can update my resume. I can apply for jobs. I did. I applied for a couple of jobs. I got a couple of interviews. I was offered other jobs.
Yeah.
I evaluated, had my little way of evaluating everything. Guess what I did? I stayed.
Yes. Yeah.
I stayed. Nothing was different about that job, and yet everything was different.
Yes.
You know what was different? me.
Yeah, and your perspective.
I was different. My perspective was different.
Yeah.
How I was looking at it, what I was saying to myself. When I made an active choice to stay, when I changed that perspective and said, I'm not stuck here. Right. And after looking at other options, I could do that, or that. I'm choosing this. It changed everything.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. And I think that is, in going back to that other patient you were talking about, where it's like, even though that sounds like I have to do this because my kids are enrolled in school here, right. Flip it and be like, I'm sacrificing a little something because I'm making an intentional sacrifice or an intentional choice to do this for that reason or the other. And I think that, always flipping it on its head is, a square one for sure.
How do I exercise the power of choice? What choices am I actually making?
Right. Yeah. And I think especially with how we react to things, that's a way to, keep that power. Is like, okay, all of these bad things could be happening, but just like we said, like looking at it with that new perspective, or not responding in the way that that person wants you to respond. Like,
one of the things I always do at the end of therapy when I'm finishing up with someone and they're kind of having their last session and we're tying it all up, I always ask them to make a list of what they've learned. What have you learned through this process? And there was one woman who came in with a list of 10, and her first one was, she said, the most important thing I learned from me is I can choose to respond, not react.
Yes, yeah. I love that. And Tyler, you promised that you were going to flip it on him, so I was going to give you that opportunity.
So yeah, Dr. Goatley, when was there a situation where you had to choose and you took that opportunity or that power of choice to drive your decision one way or another?
The choice I would come back to would probably be as family choice was making the move.
I know what you're going to say.
From Mississippi
That's
State.
kind of what I figured it was going to be. But
because was there 15, almost 16 years, very well established, had very much the same thing there that we grew in Blacksburg. And you mentioned about my career. Second part was mostly extension. First part was advising, teaching, and probably close to 250 undergrads down there. So just a nationwide network of these bulldogs that I still today hear from, especially
still has relationships with.
Right.
Yeah, Mississippi State's playing Kentucky is like I'm going to hear from because I was known for asking lots of Kentucky-based questions on my exams at that time. But that was a group decision though, and that was one that was tough. Because we came back home to family and a really cool job at Virginia Tech, but it wasn't an easy one. And we spent a lot of times discussing pros and cons of that and making that move. So I would think that's the one. Yeah. But it certainly wasn't a Mike Goatley only decision. That was our family, and we decided it was best for our family to make that move at that point in time.
It goes back to the tribe thing as well, or like, who are your people? We were living in Mississippi by ourselves. Yeah. We didn't have any family down there. We had 2 young kids at the time. And so when this job came open, it was like, should you apply for it? Well, it was coming home for me. My parents were in Blacksburg. I had 3 siblings with spouses and children in Blacksburg. So it was an opportunity for our children to grow up around their grandparents, their aunts and their uncles, their cousins, and really have a closer family connection, closer ties. Yeah. It required a lot of sacrifices. The progress, you had to start over in your career. I had to close a private practice. We had built our dream house that we thought we were going to live in forever.
Oh, that would be the hard one for me.
Right? So there were lots of things, you know, but it was about making choices.
I love it.
Hard choices, but choices that were right for us and consistent with, our other parts of our value system.
I love it.
So we talk about change, right, Meg? We were talking about those random interview questions in the last episode with Alex. So I'm going to pose my fun interview questions on Dr. Goatley because I don't think I've ever got to ask him some of these hard-hitting questions. So these are our fun ones. I always ask if you had a favorite caffeine source, what would it be?
I love it.
These are lightning rounds, so you got to be quick.
Yeah, it would just be a cup of coffee with plenty of sugar and creamer.
Okay.
And then what caffeine describes you?
Standard dark roast.
I love it.
Okay.
These are great questions.
what?
First of all, because I'm scared to go in Starbucks and I don't know what anything means. So I just either get that or hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate.
Yeah.
I think the pair of like my morning is the dark roast and then the evening of hot chocolate actually describes you perfectly.
It totally does. You do
business,
that.
He's a business. He's a professional. He is like an expert in his own way. But then he is so sweet. You
were drinking hot chocolate last week, all week long at night.
I love it.
But
totally.
see, this is why I love these questions,
These
right?
are great questions.
And I wanted to try and bring some light into it because we've talked about change and we've talked about some of those hard-hitting things. So, like, we got to talk about the easy, fun
now we
things.
need Lisa's
All right,
response.
caffeine. Favorite caffeine source?
Diet Coke.
I love it.
And then what caffeine source describes you the best? And I don't accept Sprite as an answer. And that's just a story for
Yeah,
another
I don't
day.
even know how to answer that one.
That is hard.
I know. What caffeine
I'll give
source?
you a chance to answer.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
Meg, go ahead with
I would
yours.
say my first response to the question is an Arnold Palmer, but like a homemade one. I want
Okay.
like unsweetened iced tea and lemonade, but I don't want like the canned Arnold Palmer. But that's my
You wanna make
caffeine
it,
of
right.
choice. And then I would say, I have no. Okay, now it's back to Lisa.
Right? You don't know either. Like,
We're just
how
going
do
to
I
pass
answer
it
that?
back and forth.
Caffeine source.
Just that
Yeah.
describes me.
But Lisa in our family, she is the coffee drinker. So she has to have her two
yeah.
cups of coffee in the morning to get going.
Yeah.
Me, I'm a social coffee drinker.
Okay.
I either take it or leave it, but I don't care. Like, so I'll get up, I'll drink my cup of coffee with her, but I don't have to have it.
Don't have to.
I feel like she is more in the, I must have
Are you
this.
saying I'm addicted to caffeine?
I don't say you're addicted from the stand, but you need your coffee. This morning it came up at the room about we had the pods.
I love it.
And it's
I know.
like,
Okay, well,
she
yeah,
told
here's what's
me,
funny. There were two things. I like 2 cups of coffee. There were 2 little pods of coffee and only 2 creamers. And I was like,
How's this going to work?
what are we going to do here? Right. And in true fashion, he told me to take what I want,
Right.
get mine first. And in fact, I was like, yeah, but I like 2 cups of coffee. And he was like, well, I'll just run the pod through a second time.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Wow.
that's just the
Yes.
kind of person I am.
Look at that. The hot chocolate.
Yeah. Plus, again, I don't have to have it as a must to
Yes.
get going.
Yeah, plus, he also knew he had to deal with me later on today, so he probably figured, like, let that woman
have her
2 cups of
coffee.
coffee.
Man, so do you have one to describe you?
I don't.
Caffeine? I would say, even though I'm not a soda drinker, I would say that would be like what caffeine would describe me because I'm very bubbly and like I
Yep.
fizz and I pop off the page.
Well, see, okay, so this is the background story then with the Sprite. So I had 2 candidates say Sprite as
Yes.
their
That doesn't have any caffeine.
Doesn't have caffeine, but their description kind of made up for it because they
Okay.
did say that pop, that bubbly. You kind of know what you're going to get when you open it. It's very calm and basic. And
Yes.
I was still kind of like, but
Oh, and you want to know why soda would describe me? Because as the day wears on, I am not a night person, and I go completely flat.
Get flat,
So I am
I like
definitely
that. I
like,
like that.
a morning person. I come quick with the energy, but as the day wears on, like I was out with some of the ASU crew last night, and it was like Cinderella. As soon as it like struck 8 o'clock, I was like, "How am I getting back to my hotel room?" Like, my social battery is now at a 0.
All right, last one, and we'll go around the table for this one is Meg already answered this, so she
Yes,
can maybe
so-
change her answer if she
Okay.
wants to. But favorite concert you've ever been to, most recent concert you've ever been to, and then your favorite like music, song, genre, or whatever.
We'll put Mike in. I like his rapid fire answer, so
he's
he's
good
hot
with
seat
it.
first.
My favorite concert I ever went to was going to be very different. Chuck Mangione and his quartet, or back in the day, I saw them at the Music Hall in Cincinnati, and the musicianship of these people. I was in high school band,
Yeah.
just come out the day, and so I really still appreciate what I consider to be good music. And the sound of that was fun. And I was swinging back and forth. Would you guess who my second one was? My favorite singer, if I had met you, I would love to meet her.
Oh, Alison Krauss.
Yeah,
Oh
Alison
my
Krauss in Union Station. So I
That's
was
his celebrity crush. If
Yeah.
he's got a celebrity crush, it's Alison
back
Krauss.
and forth. But the musicianship of those two, and I would still go back to a flugelhorn player and his group together, and no singing, just the songs. And it's like I'm getting goosebumps talking about it now because it was just in that arena, that setting. It was just like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable.
I love it. I'm staying with my answer from the first episode. Yeah,
which was
Mumford and Sons.
Mumford and Sons. Yeah,
best concert. Yeah. And then Lisa, your favorite concert?
A few years ago, we saw Elton John.
Okay,
he was really good.
That tour was really cool.
Yeah, that was a good tour. He did a really good job. Our most recent concert was ELO. We went to see Jeff Lynne.
Okay.
And ELO was our most recent one.
Very cool.
And our son and now daughter-in-law were like...
We had to make them listen to music. We're like, okay, pull up a playlist of
When
ELO
was the
so
wedding?
you can
Was
sing
it
along.
recent?
Yeah, they got married in April.
Oh my gosh! Congratulations! That's so exciting. Do you guys have any grandkids yet, or is this?
We do.
Okay.
So our daughter is married to a young man who's in the Coast Guard.
Okay.
And they have a 4.5-year-old son and another little son he's an April Fool's baby. He's getting ready to be 2 on April 1st.
So sweet.
Both redheads are.
Heck yeah! I love a redhead baby.
Well, both of our children, our daughter's a blonde and our son is a brunette. They both married redheads.
I love it.
And now we have 2 little redheaded grandchildren. So
cute.
Whenever we're all out together, I'll tell people, like, when the 4 adults are together, the 4, adult children, I'll say 2 of these belong to me. Which ones? Everybody always picks the redheads.
I love it.
Like, no.
That is really funny.
They married in. So.
That's very funny. All right, Tyler, close us out. Most recent concert, favorite concert.
You know what's funny is everybody always asks me that, and it puts me on the hot seat when I ask these questions, and I'm like, gosh, I wasn't expecting this.
Dude, why did I ask this question?
Yeah, why did I ask this? Oh, man. Most recent concert was... Oh, gosh. I need some help on this one. Most recent concert. I don't remember. Okay, we'll go to a favorite. My favorite concert was probably Noah Kahan, Madison Square Garden.
Look at you.
Or Zach Bryan Night 3, because Bruce Springsteen came out and played.
Nice.
Atlantic City.
Very cool.
Most recent concert. Holy cow. It's been a whirlwind of a summer.
When you have concerts at your
that's the thing. It's like we have concerts all the time, so like it's hard to like keep track of them, and most of the time I don't really listen to them either.
A shame. Don't publicize that. People would kill for
because like
for all the lineups you guys have over there.
When you get some random artists from somewhere, I'm like, I'm all right.
I hear you.
Most recent show. Oh yes, that also tops up there as well with favorite was Eric Church in Barclays Center.
Well, yeah, it was so memorable. So
well, it was.
Goodness gracious.
A story for another day.
Well, friends, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate your time. We appreciate that this is a session that you guys bring to the need of groundskeepers every single year, and that you've joined us here at the Groundskeeper Chat for a couple years. And that's where we're going to leave them. Oh, nope, Tyler's got one more.
We're going to leave them hanging, though, for next year.
Okay.
Because we're going to leave the last 15 minutes for Mike's wrestling obsession.
Okay, perfect.
But we got to leave everybody hanging.
His white whale.
Yes. We're going to leave everybody hanging for that.
So tune back in for February 2027.
Yep.
This will be on... That will probably be the last time we'll be able to get him, too. So we'll have to do like a special
we'll bring him back.
Feature edition.
We'll get him back.
2-hour-long Groundskeeper
If
Chat.
he ever hosts WrestleMania at his facility and I don't get an invitation, I'm done talking to him.
Dead
That's
to
right.
you.
Yeah.
Let the record show.
Let the record show.
Thanks, everyone.